What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another Q&A. It's been a while since we've done one. I think I say that at the beginning of every single one of my Q&As because it does take so long between them. But what I do is I answer questions from the comment section of the most recent Q&A. So I'm going to be going through the Q&A questions here and just reading through and picking out a few questions to answer for this Q&A. So if you have any questions for me that you'd like me to answer in a future Q&A, all you have to do is ask that question in the comment section of this video and this video only. Also, keep in mind, if you do have like a really quick question that can be answered really quickly and easily, Twitter is definitely the place for that. I am fairly active on Twitter. I rarely miss a message on Twitter, so if you have a quick question that you want me to answer, then feel free to ask me there on Twitter. I will leave a link to that down below. But let's hop into our first question here, and this one is from Biblical Knives. And it is, do you agree with the statement that COD is becoming more noob-friendly? Overall, I would say there are definitely things in this game that have been added that make it more noob-friendly, like the payloads, especially the payload weapons like claws and things like that. It does allow them to win gunfights that they would never actually win by just using their gun skill themselves. But at the same time, I think certain areas have also increased the skill gap a little bit, namely the movement. That's what I'm thinking about the most. The movement, in my opinion, it increases the skill gap. The players that are able to handle that movement system the best, while still maintaining proper map control and tactics and awareness of what's going on around them, the people that are able to do that are going to shine in this game, and they do shine in this game. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily noob-friendly in that sense, because that takes a lot of work and practice to get to that point where you're comfortable with that. Even if you do have a scuffed controller, or if you're using a stick-and-move layout, or if you're playing claw, or if you're using bumper jump or something like that. It still takes time and skill to really get the hang of that sort of style of gameplay. And therefore, I would say it kind of balances itself out. Sure, it is easier with those payloads for noobs to get easy kills on better players, but at the same time, the better players are always going to be shining in this game. Getting into the next one, this one's from Oxy Depth, and it is, hey Ace, I'm a bit of a Treyarch fanboy. From the context of your videos, it seems that you possibly prefer their games as well. My question is, that I'd like to ask, or like my perspective on, is what would you have Treyarch do for the next Call of Duty game to bring COD back to life, so to speak? Yeah, so not COD 2017, but we're looking all the way ahead to COD 2018. Usually I don't like to speculate or look ahead too much, but I guess this is more so like what I would like to see rather than speculation. I would really like to see a competitive focus, a very highly competitive focused game. I think going back to boots on the ground and like staying back to it, I guess we'll have to see with Treyarch's, or Sledgehammer's release in COD 2017. We'll see how that ends up going, but I would love to see the glory days of Black Ops 2 competitive returned, a really, really solid competitive playlist, and also a lot of incentive for people to get into the competitive side of the game. I would love to see that scene grow. I think that would help the game as a whole. If the competitive scene is growing, I think it's going to help the overall scene grow. And therefore, that's what I would like to see. I don't have any specifics on this exactly gameplay-wise, but I would just like them to focus on competitive a lot more than they have been in the past year or 2, or 3 years, I would say. Next up, this one says, playing video games is something I do in my free time. What do you do in your free time? So for me, I don't really have too much free time, and when I do, I usually just work. So a lot of times my free time, even when I'm like watching a movie and relaxing and watching a movie on Netflix or watching a show on Netflix, I'm still working. I have Netflix on one tab and I've got Photoshop or Sony Vegas or something in another tab. So I'm always working. I'm a little bit of a workaholic. That's just how I am. I really enjoy what I do, so that's what I do. Aside from that, I mean, sometimes I go out, spend some time with friends, but not super often. And that's pretty much it for me. I don't live the most exciting life, I guess, like from a regular day-to-day sort of thing. I do go on trips and stuff, which is always cool. But yeah, my day-to-day life is pretty much just work, work, work. Talk to Enya a little bit on Skype. Play video games, which is generally also going to be my work. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, very exciting life. Next up, really simple question from KL Havoc. How long does it take to render a 15-minute video? So it really depends on your PC build and your rig and your CPU, mainly your CPU, but you can also use your GPU to help out a little bit as well. For me, I've got a pretty good setup here, and I'm quite happy with my render times. For a 60 FPS 1080p video that has a lot of gameplay and a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on in the background, it usually takes me about twice the length of the video to render it. So if it's a 10-minute video, usually 20 to 25 minutes it's going to take to render. and it just goes from there. So it depends on the length of the video and all of those factors. This next question is very interesting, actually, from Thomas. And it says, since this past spring when IW got its first trailer, did you ever consider posting mostly Modern Warfare Remastered content, or even not really posting COD anymore, period? Or did you always plan on posting IW for the year, regardless of the state of the community? And if you answer this, IW will have probably been out for 3 months, so do you regret my decision at all? I wasn't one of those people that was discouraged by the first trailer. I know it got tons of dislikes, and it was a big bandwagon thing that a lot of people were doing, or a lot of people didn't like the setting. I'm not one to really care too much about the setting of the video game. I do prefer near future, but with it being like super far future, it doesn't make that much of a difference as long as the gameplay is solid. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that the gameplay is very solid in Infinite Warfare. I like the overall gameplay a lot in this game. So, was I ever really considering not posting Infinite Warfare? No, not at all. I've been excited about it since that day, and I still am excited about it. As for the remastered, I did think I was going to play remastered more than I have been. But I guess it's just one of those things where I got into it, and yes, it had that little bit of nostalgia. I enjoyed it. I thought it was an excellent remaster, but I just don't have any interest in playing it. Every time I do play it, I keep thinking to myself, man, I could be playing Infinite Warfare right now, leveling up, unlocking things, earning salvage. I could be doing all these things in Infinite Warfare, which is a game that I prefer playing. So that's the reason I haven't really touched Remastered, and I don't regret that decision at all. Could I have seen a little bit more growth in my channel if I would have split it up a little bit more and focused a bit more on Remastered? Yes, I think I would have been reaching a larger audience, and therefore I could have brought in like more views, more subscribers and stuff like that. But having said that, I don't think I would have enjoyed myself as much, and therefore I probably wouldn't have been as invested. The quality of the videos probably wouldn't have been as good, and I don't regret that at all, is what I'm trying to say here. I don't regret that at all. I would rather have a few less views and less growth and stuff, doing something that I'm really, really enjoying and I'm really proud of the content that I'm making, than playing something just for the sake of subscribers and views. So yeah, no regrets at all with that. Next question is a little bit of a random one, and this is about SCUF controllers, and Shadow Wolf Gaming asks, what kind of durability do SCUF controllers have? As in, how long do they last? So first off, just want to be straight up front here. I am not affiliated with SCUF in any way. I am not really interested in being affiliated with SCUF at the moment or anything, so unbiased, like this is my true experience here. I can only speak to my experience. Now keep in mind, I have heard all of the people that have had issues with SCUF, and I don't deny that those issues exist. So people absolutely do have issues with SCUFs, so I can't say like as a broad statement, absolutely SCUF controllers are durable. But from my experience, I have owned a total of 4 SCUF controllers now I have owned, and they've lasted very, very well. My Xbox SCUF controller lasted for a couple years before the back, like the jump button, stopped clicking the same way. It doesn't click quite the same way, but it still works just fine. So that controller is still working after, I think, 4 years now, approximately, something like that. My PS4 SCUF did give out on me just recently. But again, that's a SCUF I've been using every single day for, I don't know, 5-6 hours a day for a year and a half, 2 years almost. I've been using that quite a bit. So, I mean, I'm fine with it lasting that long. It's worth it at that point for me. If a SCUF controller is going to give me that much use, that's cool by me. So now I bought another SCUF, and it's running great so far. So for me, I would say SCUFs are quite durable in my experience, and I do really like them. But be aware there are people out there that have had durability issues with SCUF, and I have definitely heard those complaints. Next set of questions is from Otto Pressler, and this is, number 1, do you smoke? And the reason I asked is because I was watching an older one of my videos and saw that I had a box of Cuban cigars. Yes, I do have a humidor, and I do have some Cuban cigars in there. It's mainly for like the novelty factor, but having said that, like on a special occasion maybe, if other people are like having a cigar, yeah, I'll partake and have a cigar, I guess. But I am not a smoker, no. I have no interest in smoking. Like, I've tried it. It's not that I've never tried smoking. I've tried it, I didn't like it, and I don't see any benefit to smoking in the first place, so no, I just have no interest in it whatsoever, no cravings for it, nothing along those lines. And the second question here is, are you still partnered with Machinima? Yes, I am actually partnered with Machinima. Now, I'll explain the situation a little bit because there's a lot of negativity towards Machinima, and I understand most of that negativity, definitely. My first 3 years, I was actually locked into a contract with Machinima, and it wasn't the greatest contract out there. But me being stupid when I first started YouTube, back then it was a huge deal to be partnered with Machinima. It's what everybody was going for. And so I jumped on that. I was like, 3 years, I don't care. Machinima, this is the dream right here. I'm living the dream. I got to sign this contract. And I got locked into a contract that at the time was okay, but then as I grew as a channel, there were so many better offers coming in for me because all these other people want me on their network, and it's like, man, I really wish I could accept that. My contract did finally expire a year and a half ago, something like that, and I renegotiated a contract with Machinima. They gave me very good terms now. I'm a managed partner, like everything is great. I am very, very happy being with Machinima now. I've had zero issues with them since I've renewed my contract, and yeah, things are great. But just let that be a warning to you YouTubers out there. Anybody that is a YouTuber and you're planning on partnering up with an MCN, don't sign any contract that's longer than, I would say, 6 months. Anything longer than that is far too long as far as internet goes, because things could blow up overnight and suddenly they're taking 40% of your revenue, and that's huge revenue right there if things really blow up for you. So take it slow when you go with contracts. If you are going to be signing a contract, try to get something a little bit more shorter term, and also keep in mind you can negotiate. There's lots of competition out there with MCNs, and they are willing to wiggle now. So just my little word of warning to you guys that are thinking about signing up with an MCN, and it kind of relates to that question. Getting into the next set of questions from General Snivy. First one is about connections. What do you do to best combat the lag compensation in Infinite Warfare besides the usual use a hardwired connection, open your NAT, configure your port forwarding, or something like that? First off, lag compensation, that's a scapegoat that a lot of people use. Latency is usually the better term here. Most of the time when people are complaining about lag compensation, it's not lag compensation, it's latency. But that's kind of besides the point. What do I do to get the best connection possible? I do own a NetDuma router, but keep in mind, I don't even geofilter on my NetDuma router. It's not really doing anything special for me compared to any other routers. So maybe I'm just lucky and I have generally just a solid connection overall. Of course, I do port forward and I have a hardwired connection, like you said. There's nothing else I really do to make sure my connection is better. Some people think I have some kind of a godlike connection. I don't. When I do a ping test to the servers I generally connect to, I usually get somewhere around 70 to 80 milliseconds ping. So it's not a terrible connection, but it's also not like a insanely beastly connection. I would say it's kind of middle of the road connection as far as that goes. I do have a very consistent connection. I have good line quality as well, but that just comes down to your ISP essentially. And yeah, I'll just let you know, there's nothing special I do. I've got no tricks up my sleeve as far as getting good connections. I just generally get good connections. And the second question here from him is, does Canada measure speed in miles per hour or kilometers per hour? Kilometers per hour we use. We are metric. Next question is from Lachlan Davis, and this is, do you attend any competitive LAN events? For example, like MLG Atlanta. By the way, love your videos. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I have never been to an MLG event that has been specifically an MLG event, where it was just an MLG event. But, having said that, this coming week, I'm actually going to MLG Dallas, which is technically in Fort Worth, but still, I'm going to MLG Dallas. I will be there. Can't talk too much about what I'll be doing. I actually don't really know about everything that I'll be doing at this point. I don't have the information, and even if I did, I probably couldn't share it with you. But I can tell you guys, I will be there, so let me know in the comments if you are going to be at MLG Dallas. I would love to meet some of you guys, and yeah, it's always a great time meeting people to watch my videos. It always feels awesome. So yeah, I will be there, and that is technically going to be my first like MLG or CWL event that I've gone to, aside from COD XP, but I didn't go to COD XP for the COD Championship. I went to COD XP to play Infinite Warfare early and just for a good time. But yeah, there was a competitive event there, and I did watch a little bit, and it is really enjoyable to watch. I really enjoy doing that. So, very excited for MLG Dallas, and I hope to see some of you guys there. Next question is unrelated to pretty much anything here, but still something I wanted to answer because it's an interesting question, and maybe it'll help some of you guys out, or at least shed some light on how I handled school. So this one's from Grumpy Gabby, or Gaby, Gabby? In school, what is your strategy for studying, or what was my strategy for studying? my strategy for studying, it kind of depends on the subject. If it was a math related subject, generally with that, like, you kind of know what you fully understand and what you're good at, and you know your weaknesses because you either get the answer right or wrong. So basically, the stuff I already knew, I probably wouldn't focus too much on if I was studying, and I would just try to find the things that I'm still maybe a little bit unclear about, something like that, and I just practice, practice, practice. Just keep going through questions. You even find some online if you run out of questions that, like, your teacher or professor has given you. Just go till you fully understand that part, and then, yeah, you're good for math. Math is pretty simple that way. Some of the other ones where there's more like definitions, or you have to remember certain like principles, or something along those lines, where you have to actually remember things, maybe like dates and names and things. With that one, what I would do is, if I was struggling in that class, most of the time I wouldn't really study too much, but if I was struggling, or if I really wanted to get a good grade on that test, what I'd do is I'd go through and I'd write down notes on everything that I needed to know for that test, or like all the definitions, all the principles, all that kind of stuff that I needed to remember. I would write it down, and then I would spend a little bit of time like looking at it, studying it. I would put that piece of paper aside, completely out of sight, and I would try to copy it from memory, the whole notes page. And then what I would do is I compare the two. Anything that I missed or I was unsure about as I went through, I'd put a question mark if I was unsure about something. That was the stuff I knew I had to focus on, so then I would do it once again, focusing on those specific ones, and then generally I'd be very good at memorizing those. So yeah, that stuff's more so memorization than like understanding. So it takes a little bit more effort in my mind. Maybe it's just how I work, though. I'm a little bit better with math-related things, I find. But yeah, that's how I studied for school, and I thought it was a really good method for doing that. It's something I just kind of developed on my own, and yeah, it worked out pretty well for me. I did quite well in school. Moving on to the next one. This one's from Christopher Cruz, and it is, would living in Norway affect your YouTube videos in getting good connections and stuff like that? So how would moving to Norway affect my schedule? First off, for those of you guys that are out of the loop on this one, I might be moving to Norway. I'm actually definitely going to Norway for 3 months on April 19th, so I leave in a month and a bit. I'm actually leaving for Norway to stay with my girlfriend, live with her for a little bit, see how it goes. That's kind of the test phase. And then there's a good chance I'm actually going to be moving to Norway in the future. But how is it going to affect my YouTube? YouTube-wise, it shouldn't really affect anything. I should be able to do the same stuff I've always been doing. Twitch, I'm probably, like for live streams, I'm likely going to have a slightly earlier schedule, nothing too crazy, just a little bit earlier than normal because we have that time zone difference, so don't want to be streaming way too late at night. But really, nothing will be affected too much there. As far as good connections, Norway has excellent connections. Enya's got excellent connection at her place. I'm really jealous of her internet connection, so no problems as far as connection goes. It's just I'm going to be playing with European players more often than North American players when I do that, so yeah, it won't have too much of a noticeable impact for you guys, I don't think. So, yeah. And finally, one last question I wanted to answer today is from Sam Perry, and this one says, you mentioned all the hard work and effort that goes into your videos, as well as how much time they take from your day. So what are the benefits of YouTube, and what do I enjoy most? For this one, I would just say the main benefit is being my own boss. I've always wanted to be my own boss. I actually ran a little business before I started YouTube, and I was my own boss then. I just love the freedom of working when I want to work, for as long as I want to work, and nobody tells me what to do. Of course, I still have to kind of cater to my audience and things like that, but nobody directly tells me, you have to be here at this time doing this. I don't care if you don't like it, you got to do this. I love the fact that I do exactly what I want to do. That doesn't mean it isn't really stressful at times. That doesn't mean I don't work really hard at it and spend a lot of time doing it. But it does mean I do have that freedom to do what I want. And I really do like that. And I'm also really flexible with my schedule. That's a big thing as well, is I'm really, really flexible. And something that's just starting to come up, or it's just been starting to come up over the past year or so, travel. There's a lot of travel that comes with being a YouTuber once you get up to the higher levels, I want to say, even though I'm still a relatively small channel, if you look at the grand scheme of things. I really like traveling. I really like going and going to events and things like that. So that's another bonus to being a YouTuber for sure. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for today's Q&A. Like I said, if you guys have any questions you'd like me to answer in the next Q&A, leave those down below, and I just might answer them in that video. Also, follow me on Twitter if you're looking to ask any just quick questions. something that you don't necessarily want featured on a Q&A, just something really quick you want me to answer, I am generally pretty good at getting to those. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll talk to you guys next time.